All right, today we're going to talk about how to target land that sells very quickly, even in the current slower market here in 2025. Now, it feels abnormal right now, but the reality is it's more normal in most places, and we're coming off a long period of abnormally hot real estate market. I mean, the seller's market we were in was crazy there, and that's not normal. So you actually have to know what land or any real estate asset is in demand and target and price accordingly. You can't just sell anything. And so that's fine because this is more normal and the attention that land investing has been getting, I think, will die down some, which will help reduce the insane competition that's developed in some parts of the country. So I'm going to give you examples and then I'm going to talk about, well, how do you figure this out in your market? So we'll start with a Florida example. This is a market where I have some land sitting because it does not fit the characteristics I'm about to explain. But in this county, if you have a 5, 6, 7-ish acre lot, they tend to sell very, very quickly. And so the first example here is larger lots amongst mostly smaller lots. There's tons of small lots here, tons of, half acre, quarter acre, even smaller than that. And so if you get these 5 acre pieces, they tend to sell very quickly. Look at this one. Doesn't even have paved road frontage. Looks like it's just an easement that's been kind of graded, but it was still grass. And it sold contingent in 2 days, sold 31 days later. So look at this one. Same deal, 5 acres. Looks like it's on a slightly better street, but still not great. All right, listed. Well, they listed it way too high. This is well above comps, so it makes sense that it sat for a little bit, but it still sold, right? And this is amidst, I should say, a really slow land market generally. So, example number one, lots that are much larger than what is available on the market. So there are places where I've found a similar dynamic if you get the half acre lots amongst all the quarter acres. I've seen, you get the acre lots amongst quarter and half acre lots. So this is not unique. This concept is often the case where the larger lots sell very quickly, even in a slower market. Another example, what is it zoned? Is there something that it's zoned that would cause it to sell much, much quicker? And so years ago, when I was doing business in Pueblo West, this market has really slowed. I wouldn't try and flip land here right now. Um, I didn't know that there was a pretty distinct layout, as you can see here, of single family, duplex, multifamily, commercial business, some industrial over here, and mobile homes right here. I wasn't paying attention to that, and I didn't understand how to properly comp properties because the R3 duplex lots were far more in demand than the single family, and so if I got a lead right over here, well, I'd look and on Zillow, these are really close to each other, these two little areas, and I would think that comps, quote unquote, over here would apply to over here, and they did not at the time because these were R3 duplex lots, these are single family only. These duplex lots were more in demand. So this is another common one. There's a market in Florida where I have flipped dozens and dozens of duplex lots. I don't touch the single family because there's endless single family lots. They're super cheap, but the duplex lots sell very quickly and very, very high. So this is a common one that you can find in markets around the country where maybe there's endless single family lots, but you get the duplex or multifamily and those fly off the shelves, or it's some version of that. I've seen a lot of different examples. So that's something to look for as well. And I still have markets today, not this one, where the duplex lots sell very quickly, and so we target those, whereas the single family are mostly sitting. One more example. Utilities. And this one seems obvious, right? But people don't take the time to look at this and pull their data accordingly. And so years ago, I did business in Palm Bay. And I remember my acquisition manager tagging me on a deal that he thought was a deal that we could buy. And I looked at it, and his quote unquote comps were right over the line into this blue area. And this blue area, water service. These white areas have neither water nor sewer. And at least having water was really important. It would cause lots to sell much quicker. at a much higher price point. All his comps were right over the line. It wasn't actually this street, but right over the line into the area with water. And so they were not actually comps. The lot he had in question was worth far less, would sell far slower. And so, another example. Sometimes I am thinking of another market right now in Florida where if you have the lots with water service, they still sell quickly, whereas the others do not. One more example of this, I don't have anything pulled up, is just there was a market last year in South Carolina. We flipped a lot. We did the survey. We got a septic permit from the county, and there was a huge amount of inventory sitting, yet ours sold immediately above ask because we did those two things, right? So that's another example. Now, all this isn't particularly helpful if you don't know how to figure it out. And so maybe you're in Texas. I don't know much of anything about Texas. And you're saying, well, what is the equivalent in Texas? How do I figure out what's in demand? Well, many of these characteristics I've found where I'll just go in a market and I'll start looking at all the solds. And one thing people overlook, they see price and acreage, but read the description. And oftentimes you'll be in a market and you'll realize every lot that sold and sold quickly says septic permit on file, or public water available. And you see these trends oftentimes when you read this. I'm thinking of a market in Colorado where the lots that have wells and septics installed with the power pole brought to the lot will sell overnight. And if you don't read the description, you're going to think you're looking at comps that have that when yours is raw land. And so you got to read the description. And oftentimes that's how I've found a few of these characteristics. I'm thinking of one market in particular. I figured out right away, okay, it's the water lots that are still in demand when I looked through the solds and I read the descriptions. And then, of course, looked at days on market down here. Now, as a corollary to this, ask your realtor for a comp sheet of the last six, or right now, especially since the market's changing, I would stick to 90 to 180 days. But look at all the lots, sort it by days on market, and the ones that sold really quickly, are there any common characteristics, whether it's area, whether it's utilities that the others don't have, improvements that the others don't have? What is it? You can quickly find trends that way as well. And then finally, and you might not like this one, but it's reality, it's just actually doing business in the market. If you're actually doing business somewhere, then you'll find these trends. I generally don't like to mail entire counties, but there's a few counties we went after recently that were new to us, and there just wasn't a lot of land in general. So we said, all right, fine, we'll just mail the whole county. And as we did that and got leads, then it quickly helped us zoom in and figure out, oh, okay, this area sucks, everything's cheap or not really in demand. And all right, this lead over here, this was really in demand. And so just doing business places really, really helps. I can give you a prime example of this in one of my favorite North Carolina markets. I've been there for years and we have excellent realtors. We found an area that I was aware of and I normally didn't pull the data from because it was so cheap. However, I noticed one day that there was a few higher comps, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe prices are going up. And then I talked to one of our realtors in the area who really knows her stuff. She goes, oh, yeah, there's a couple buyers buying everything there. Prices are accelerating. And that was like, ding, 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 this is an opportunity. So we flipped like 7 or 8 lots there just this month. All of them sold within a few days, well above comps, or under contract in a few days, well above comps. And the only reason we figured that out is we had a great realtor, because I wouldn't have had the confidence to do it without her second opinion. And then also we were doing business there. I was familiar with the neighborhood. So more than anything, just doing business is a great way to figure this out over time. But if you're new, talk to realtors, look at what's selling on Zillow, really take the time to do that second level analysis. And you can find those neighborhoods, those lot sizes, those, zoning, whatever it might be in your area that still sells very, very quickly. And it will serve you greatly in the current market because things are generally slower. And once you know, you can really refine the data you're pulling to mail and cold call because you know, oh, okay, most of this is crap. This is the gold, right? And so it'll save you money there as well. So hope that was helpful, guys. This is how I'm actually doing this today in my business, even in a slower market. So give me your feedback. Let me know if this was useful.